Hello and welcome back to another great episode of Love Speaks. Good evening. We're so excited to have you here. My name is Francois, your host, along with
Lakeisha, thank you so much. I'm so excited about tonight. So excited to be here with our topic on tonight. So hey, let's do this.
Let's Do This. So do me a favor and let's like and share. Real quickly. I'm going on my Facebook page so I can like it and
Yes.
share it so we can get our audience in here. And we want y'all to come in. This is a very good topic for us tonight. And so with this topic, it's a topic that really touches everybody. Everybody. There is not one person that has ever been untouched by this topic on tonight. So we need you guys to come in and let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Yes.
The funny thing about our topic on tonight is that there is no dedicated season for this topic. This is a year-round. This is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week. Today, we are talking about grief.
Oof.
Grief. Grief. And so we want to deal with it. We want to face it. Sometimes we're afraid and we try to shy away from it and we do things to cover it up, but we have to deal with it. And both of us, we've had our share
Yes.
of grief.
Yes. And about 6 times for, grief with death, but then also experience grief in many other areas because grief is just loss. And so that loss could have been the loss of my job, which I did experience. And so loss of so many other things. And so we think that this is a very valuable topic tonight. So go ahead, make sure you tag someone, share anybody you know who experienced any kind of loss, not just loss as in regards to death, but loss of any kind. Just please tag them, let them know there's a topic tonight that's going to help encourage them and also strengthen them in this time. So let us dig right on in and get on in.
Exactly.
I'm excited.
And I'm excited in particularly because our guest tonight is someone who is very, very, I'm so blessed to be connected to so many great and important people. And this particular guest is very, very near and dear to my heart. He is one of my closest confidants, a great friend. Oh my God, he wears so many hats. He is a father. He is a husband. He is a pastor. He is an actor. He is an author. He is a friend indeed. He sees so many great things, but tonight he has put on his author hat. Excuse me. I ate some chips earlier. Y'all help me. Tonight he's put on this author hat. He's written a few books, but the book we want to talk about today is the book that is talking about grief recovery. So Love Speaks. We always like to invite people on Love Speaks who have a strong passion for what they do. Love speaks what love is, whether it is socially currently or whether it is spiritually. And tonight you're going to get a little bit of all of that, a little social, a little spiritual, but always current. Let's welcome on my good friend, my good buddy, our friend, BJ, Bobby Daniels. Let's welcome him on. There he is. BJ. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
You are more than welcome. Thank you for accepting our invitation to be here with us. And we're so excited to have you here. And again, you wear so many hats. I don't know how you do it all, but you do it seamlessly with the multiple hats that you wear. But tonight we're dealing with you as an author.
Yes.
An author who has written a phenomenal book, 40-Day Recovery. 40-Day Recovery. Tell us the proper name of your book and where we can get it.
All right, the book is called 40 Days of Grief Recovery, Daily Encouragement for Life After Loss. And again, thank you for having me, Lakeisha. You know I love you. Francois, you know I love you. Let's jump right into it. And I'll tell you a little bit about this book. This book became part of a journey. I released it in December of last year. And I started with letting my friends and family know, letting social media know, and now the book is expanding and it's growing. But it is a simple approach to recovering from grief after you have lost someone, and not just someone, but something, because we've come to understand that grief is one of the most personal journeys that a person can walk through. So I want to start off from tonight. If someone is grieving, I just want to let you know, first of all, grief is not a weakness. I know we're here to talk to each other, but we're also here to share our story and our experiences. Grief is not a weakness. It's an evidence that something to you really mattered. So we so commonly classify grief as losing someone, but grief can also be the end of a marriage. It can be betrayal of a relationship. It can be losing a dream, losing health, losing relationships. And as a pastor, obviously, I do funerals here at my church, but I work with several funeral homes here in the greater Toronto area. And so I'm often called on to go and speak to families or to go and do funerals because they don't have pastors. And I see so many people grieving. But what I see beyond that, I see people not understanding or not knowing how to manage their grief. So when grief is not properly managed, it shows up in our behaviors. It shows up in our attitude. It shows up in our bodies and literally affects our bodies and our health when it's not managed properly. I mean, people are still struggling and they're losing. Some people are struggling with loss of identity. Some people are struggling with lifetime disappointment. Even, can I say, and I don't want to make it too churchy, some people are struggling with grief because they are in the middle of unanswered prayers or not getting the answers that they wanted from prayers. We have people that we grieve who are still alive, people that we grieve who are no longer with us. And many people grieve, they feel that silent struggle because there's this pressure to be strong. Everybody will say, be strong, or they'll put people will say, just pray about it. Sometimes people say, just pray about it, or just go for a walk, or just go get a cup of coffee. But when everybody grieves, Lakeisha and Francois, it's all different. So yeah. I think if I could just lead with another strong message, I just want to say that there's no timeline on grief. You cannot rush grief. There are several stages to grief, and sometimes the stages might be longer. One of the things I tell people when I talk with them, when I share in the grief recovery experience, I let them know, don't put a timeline on it and don't rush it. If you wake up on Tuesday and you don't feel like it, it's okay. But you may wake up on Wednesday and you have the wherewithal to get through your day. But even if you come back on Thursday and you're struggling, sit with that and own it, because if you deny it, it comes up later on in unimaginable ways.
Yes, that is so good. Now, I know Francois jumped right into the book, but I do want us to just back up a little, BJ, and just tell us a little about yourself and what inspired you to write the book. So I absolutely love the topic itself. And I want all of those that are, if you're on any one of the platforms, you have a question you want to have answered tonight, just go ahead and drop that question in the chat as well. But I do want to, you to just let us know. Tell us a little bit about BJ and what inspired you to write the book.
Thank you. Well, I'm from North Carolina, and I moved to Washington, D.C. I worked there. I worked with Black Entertainment Television for a little while. Then I went and worked at Greater Mount Calvary, Holy Church in D.C. Ended up going to travel there, met a little woman named Aisha when I was in Toronto, traveled to Toronto, met a little woman named Aisha. Long story short, 20 years later, we have 2 teen sons, and I'm living here, pastoring here, inherited the ministry, or succeeded my father-in-law in the ministry. And so both of my parents are deceased. So I'll start there. My grandmother, who was my mother's mother, she passed when I was 7, and she was living with us before she got sick. She was a diabetic. And I remember some of the early things. I learned how to eat like saltine crackers and lemon ginger cookies, chicken noodle soup. I learned how to eat those things with her sitting by her bed as a 7-year-old boy. So I remember when she passed, I knew what death was, but I didn't know how it was supposed to feel. So now fast forward to now, I'm 24 years old now. My mom passes away suddenly. She wasn't sick. It was not a car accident. She was literally sitting up in her chair. She and my brother watching television, and he fell asleep. And when he woke up, she was taking her last breath. And her glasses were still on her face. It was not an aneurysm. It was not a stroke. It was not a heart attack. We waited 9 months to get the autopsy results back, only for them to really not know where to put it. She just left this earth. And for the first time in my life, I had to face grief head on as a 24-year-old man. I had to face this grief, and I went in and I talked to God and I looked at grief, and I came out of it realizing that we all have to go that way. And then now fast forward to 2018, just last week was 8 years that my father has been, has passed away. He passed away from colon cancer. So I know the sting of death. I know the sting of death. My wife, her father is deceased as well. I know the sting of death. And so when you look at that, you can fall into a trap of grief. And I remember the first couple of years, I think for 3 years, on Mother's Day, I didn't go to church. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I just wanted to sit and be. But I had to make the personal choice to say, I need to get up and live. Because when you sit in it for a period of time, what happens is grief turns into depression. And then depression turns into now you have to look and soothe. And then it becomes the cousin of other different types of things. And you find yourself, some people in the workplace and in their families are mean people, not because they're mean, not because they have a reason to be mean, but because they're grieving. And that's the only way that grief knows how to channel. You know what I mean? And so part of what I'm doing in this book, 40 Days of Grief Recovery, which has now expanded to the Grief Recovery Experience, where I do seminars and sessions teaching people how to manage grief. Part of that is showing them, bringing them back to not only who they are and choosing life and processing and giving them the tools that they need to survive, but also letting them know that the scripture says, God says, I am close to the brokenhearted. He doesn't say I am close to the perfect hearted. He doesn't say I'm close to the rich hearted. He doesn't say I am close to the one who can do everything. He said in his word, I am close to the broken hearted. And so that's the first and foremost thing. When we're going through grief, we experience many things. We experience, of course, obviously, we experience sadness. Some people experience anger. Some people experience resentment. Some people just don't want to deal with anybody because they're totally frustrated because they've lost their loved one. They've lost their honey. They've lost their job. They've lost that career, that thing that they invested in for years. They've lost all those kinds of things. And so, but God says, I'm right there with you. He doesn't kick us to the curb when we do that thing. He doesn't do that. He said, I'll never leave you nor forsake you. So for the one who believes, and even for the one who doesn't believe, God is still with you while you're grieving through that process. And so I feel like I have been called to not only write this book, but I feel like I've been called to help people in a healthy way learn how to manage their grief, whether they are faith believers or whether they aren't. There's a certain path. It's okay to feel anger and resentment as long as we don't stay there.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
you have to, you know?
Yeah. And I love that because it's with grief, it's not a neat timeline. Like people think that you're supposed to grieve in this particular order or this particular step. And we hear that a lot. Oh, they're in a better place, or it happened for a reason. That don't make it easier for me to endure what I'm enduring. But the fact is, I like to always tell people, and I hear that in your book, that it's okay to grieve. It's okay if you need to cry. It's okay if you become angry at the moment, but just like you said, don't stay there. So I love that.
Yep. The first step, Lakeisha, is acknowledging the pain. You have to acknowledge that it is there before you work on it. Because again, some people are like, no, I'm fine. And they get busy. They get busy doing whatever they're doing. Oh, no, I'm good. I'm fine. And then years later, it crashes down on them. And if I can very quickly, I believe my wife is watching, use her as an example. When my father-in-law passed, because he was the pastor of the church, she and I had to start pastoring here. And so I think we took the first Sunday and after we buried him, we took the first Sunday and let someone else preach. But from that point, we had to keep pastoring the church. things had to keep rolling. So what happened is her grief had to be put on the back burner.
Exactly.
Years later, she ended up in the chair talking to the therapist because she realized I was functioning, but I was not managing my grief properly. So it is very important that for those of us now, I believe in therapy. Although I am a pastor and I believe in God, I am also a licensed clinical therapist. I believe, licensed clinical counselor, I'm sorry. I believe in the gift of therapy. So if you're watching now, and I know Francois, Lakeisha, I know that you agree with me. If you're watching right now and you are dealing with grief, be it the loss of a loved one, grief of a career, a relationship, if you just find yourself not being able to get up and start your day, always tired, just not really caring about the things you used to, you are probably grieving or depressed, and you need to go and talk with someone. The benefit of talking with someone, because even in the Black community, there's this stigma that, I don't have to go talk to anyone. Back in the day, we used to call it a shrink. Now they call it therapists, but there's this stigma. It's changing, but it's still there that we are we don't go do those kinds of things. That means we are cuckoo and crazy. No, it doesn't. A therapist helps you to sort out your thoughts. You're in a place where you come to trust them, and you won't trust them in the beginning because you may or may not know them. But as you begin to talk and you begin to just clear out your mind and talk about how you really feel, you're creating and carving out a space where you can be vulnerable. And then that's when you come in and ask God to help you, ask the Holy Spirit to help you and guide you. And that's when your process can begin. You're going to have days when you don't feel like it, days when you do feel like it, days when you feel like you're a failure. Days when you pick up the phone, or days when you feel like you're getting ready to go into the same job that they suddenly fired you from, or the same loved one that you have, you want to pick up and text them and you can't do it, and it hits you all over again. It's okay if it hits you all over again. Grief is not a light switch emotion that you turn off and on. It is, and sometimes you have to see the therapist possibly for the rest of your life, depending on the depth of grief that you have. But it's impertinent upon us, it's incumbent upon us, if we want to live the life that we want to live with peace and joy and harmony within ourselves, we cannot stay in the place of grief.
That's awesome.
I'm sorry. I just want to, I'm going to give Francois a chance to say something next, but it's just a question that popped up in the chat here. And I want to make sure that this question get addressed because like you said, and I know your book is a 40-day journal as well. And so the question that they asked is, if you write in your journal, does that work as well?
Yes, that is one of the tools that I have in the book, writing. And so it's not just always that's a great question, Joshua. It's not always going to a therapist, because let's be real, not everybody can afford a therapist. Not everyone is in the capacity or the place to go to therapy. I've been to therapy. My wife has been to therapy. But there are tools that I mentioned in this book about finding a friend, finding someone you trust, writing in a journal, writing a letter to that loved one or to the thing that you actually lost as a way of releasing it, having a conversation, writing letters to God, just telling him how you feel. Because many times we carry silent emotions that we feel we are unable to offload, period. So we build those things up because so many of us are just called to perform, gotta put it on, gotta be this, gotta be that to so many people. And we carry all those things and it gets built up. And then we're wondering why we're having aches and pains in our bodies. It's because we're holding those things in. So yes, writing in your journal, going for a walk, seeing the other side of life, doing other things. And let me say this, one of the hardest things when you lose a loved one is starting life again, especially doing some of the things that you did with your loved one. That's very, very hard, and it's very difficult to do. But you have to choose life, and that means doing what you have to do to carve out that space. The journal question is a very, very, very good question. Doing what you have to do, seeking your healing, talking to God, talking to friends, being around someone. You can be isolated for a moment, but you cannot stay isolated, because if you do, it's really, really going to be detrimental for you. And we don't want that. We want to win. We want everyone to win, for sure.
Absolutely. This and again, this is a fantastic topic. And like you said, you shared your parts of grief. I know I've had my share of grief. Both of my parents are demise, and all of my grandparents are gone. So when my mother transitioned, and we're approaching her anniversary real soon, and so I find myself um, falling into a slump, if you will, and then that's when I find myself falling there. I have to always kind of, why am I here? Why am I here? And then it kind of hits me. Oh, during this time,
Yes.
you were going back and forth to the hospital. During this time, this was taking place, that was taking place. And so I kind of always find myself around the anniversary of my father, and around the anniversary of my grandmother, the anniversary of my mom. It's like I'm always busy, moving forward. But something in the back of that brain always reminds you, hey, this season, this time of year, kind of brings you back to a place. And like you said, I told our church I was a big advocate on Mother's Day. When we approach Mother's Day, I'm like, listen here, y'all, let these people have a Mother's Day. Just because your mama gone, you enjoy the day and let them have a Mother's Day. And then when my mama left, I had to bite that bullet and say, look, I'm here. And Mother's Day to all y'all.
And it's a real feeling, and you really can't predict how you will react before you lose someone or something until you lose it. You don't know, you really don't know how you're going to act. But I know it's okay to have those feelings. Again, some people have this mentality that you can't cry. Some people have this mentality that you just have to be strong. I want to tear that down today. And you don't have to be strong about it. You can be in the truth of your feelings, but at the same time, you can't stay there. So little things like, even with you coming up with the anniversary, some little things or little tools that I like to encourage people to do is to consider something fun that you did with your loved one, and do it, and remember the happy moments, and say, I'm going to do this. And it's okay to engage in that and actually like laugh and remember, as opposed to being sad. So it can be a painful memory. It could also be a great memory as well. But you have to be willing to open up and say, this is where I am. Like today, I'm right here. Today, I'm angry about it. Today, I'm angry because my loved one left me, and left me with bills, and left me with a lot of things, and I'm trying to recover, and I'm angry about it. God, help me today. And he's there to help you. Some people are there, again, they have resentment. They resent because they find out information about the loved one once the loved one has passed, and they can't reach out to have a conversation with them to say, hey, we need to talk about this. That puts you in a place of grief. So you have to find ways and find those tools. And like I said, this is 40 days. I encourage you to get the book. You can get it on Amazon. I don't know if they have maybe they can put in the comments the link, but you can find it. It's 40 days of grief recovery. My name is Bobby BJ Daniels. Bobby Daniels there. I don't use my nickname in the book, but you can find it there and start your healing journey. It's so important. Because grief, joy, those things show up in the other areas of your life. And believe it or not, other people around you can see it. Our natural proclivity is to observe others. And we can, in other words, we can't turn off the analytical part of us. It is a natural part of who we are. So if Carvil, if you're calling me or you're texting me and I'm noticing something is a little off, hey, what's going on? This is different. It's different for you. So if you are in that place, I just want to say, I want to encourage you to get into that place where you can start your healing process, not be healed. You're not going to be healed just from reading this. It takes longer than 40 days for some people, but it's a process to take you on the journey. And when you surrender and you submit those things to God, and you take it day by day, and you allow the days when you're up to be the days of up, and you allow the days when you're not so up to be those days as well, but yet you keep trying and trying, you'll find your barometer going a little bit higher. And it never is going. And here's the thing, when you lose a loved one, I'm talking particularly about a loved one, you're never going to get over it. You will never get over it. But what happens is you make a choice in your heart and your mind to choose life, and you continue living through it. because I still have days. My mother died in 1999. That is what 27 years. She passed in 1999. I still have moments when I'm in the kitchen cooking and I think about her. And I just say, I just want to talk to my mother. My mother didn't get to see my wife and my children. And sometimes I try not to ask God why, because I know that he does all things well. But I still have fleeting moments when I grieve over her, but I don't stay, because what I also do, and I'll stop talking just for a moment, but what I also do is I posture myself in gratefulness. In other words, being grateful that I had the opportunity to love her, to love someone, love my father, that I had an opportunity to have the type of parent or loved one that I have. So I'm standing there sometimes in the kitchen and a tear will run down my eye. My wife will notice something's a little, and I'm just thinking about my mom. I'm just thinking about my dad, and that's okay. But then I'm like, but God, I'm so grateful that you gave them to me for the time you did. And I see the reflection of their investment showing up in my life. Then I fix myself and I decide to move on and go just one more day.
Yeah.
So it's not a short process. It's not an express train. It's not a short trip. It's not a short process. It is a long process, but you can do it for sure.
Yes. So that would be my question in regards to the recovery. What does that mean in grief? Because we talked about, healing and also learning from it. And sometimes I seen someone put in the text to get through it. But what does that mean? Because when I reference grief, of course, I've lost almost all of them. I lost a brother, I lost a mother, grandmother, grandfather's father, can go down the list in regards to family members. But my own personal grief was when I was pregnant. We were pregnant with our oldest child, and having him at 20, just at about 23, 24 weeks, having him at an early stage in the pregnancy, that was somewhat of a grief. Thank God he survived, the NICU, and he came out and he's now 17 years old. But I can remember it was at that point while he was in the NICU, in the incubator, I had to pull myself from the hospital just to go lay on the couch of a therapist because I was experiencing grief, the loss of my child going to full term, 40 weeks, and confused about the whole process because it was unfamiliar to me. Coming from a large family, seeing my mom have 10 children, and me having my first child being a preemie, having to go into an early, emergency C-section was just somewhat that I was just finding myself while I was going into a dark hole, deeper and deeper every day I went into the NICU. And so therapy helped me. Therapy was the tool that helped me overcome that. And so I want you to just kind of expound what does grief means. Recovery means in that context of grief. What does that mean? What does it look like?
Good question. What does it look like? Again, recovery is not a light switch effect. You don't just wake up and you're like, oh goodness, I'm recovered, and you move on. No, recovery is a transformation of your heart and your mind and your emotions to continue to live through it, to not stay stuck in grief and sadness and resentment and regret and all those and the pain that is attached to the grief, all those types of things. It's that you are saying, I no longer want to, it still may happen from time to time, but I no longer want to sit there and rest in it. It's much like when you think about someone who will say, I'm a recovering alcoholic. 20 years down the road, they may still have a desire to have a drink, but what they do is they say, I have had a transformation in my heart and in my mind that I'm not going to go back to that place because that was a very, very dark place. And so then now I have to apply the tools to help me to maintain on my step and my stage. That's a lot of how recovery looks. It's making that decision. It's getting to a place where you're like, Lord, I experienced this, or telling your therapist, or telling yourself, or your good girlfriend, or your homeboy. Now I'm dating myself when I say homeboy. Getting to that place where you come to the realization, I don't have to stay here, and you process the thing that you lost as a bona fide loss. Yes, I lost that, but now I must live. Because there are also people who are in denial who don't want to admit that they have lost something, and they have. That's another layer and another area of grief, because now they're walking around with an area or a line of deception in their minds when they have not, again, when I started off, talked about acknowledging the pain. So you have to acknowledge and say, I'm in pain because I lost. And when you start there, your body begins to create that boundary of, you lost something. Now, how do you continue to live without that thing or that person? And that's what recovery looks like. You have to make that separation and admit that this is what I've lost, but I want to now live and move on beyond this stage of staying in active loss. You can be in passive loss and live and smile and choose life again, much like you all have done in your loss.
Absolutely. This is a phenomenal conversation, and we can really talk about this on and forever.
I do have one more question. I'm sorry. I know we have our timeline, but I do have to address this because so many people, I feel, have the pressure of thinking they have to be strong. And I know you said that, but people who have the pressure of having to be strong, and especially us who are Christians, you have to have faith, they tell us. And when someone is hurting, what would you say? We have viewers and, on different platforms tonight that have experienced grief, but what do you say to someone who feels guilty about still grieving? Like, because maybe they've heard it from someone, oh, you should be over that by now. How many years ago that happened? What do you say to someone that's still grieving?
Well, let's look at it like this. I would say, let's look at what is causing you to feel guilty. I'm not speaking to the grief now, because again, grief, you can't put a timeline on grief. You can make healthier choices toward recovering and living and processing everything right. But my question would be to that person who feels that way is, who or what is making you feel guilty? Is this self-guilt that you're placing on yourself? Or is this, like you said, the common words that lots of times people speak, but they really don't realize the impact of their words. They'll just say stuff because it's just traditional, or it just seems like the right thing to say. And so if a person is sitting in guilt, I would say, look at the source of what's making them feel guilty. What is the trigger that is making you feel guilty? And then look at that. I am in the middle of a manuscript right now entitled Free Yourself to Love Yourself. And it is that is teaching you how to love yourself again, because speaking to the word guilt, a lot of us place a lot of self-guilt on ourselves when no one has said that to us, but we just feel guilty, or we feel attached to the thing that we lost. We feel, and here's, let me tell this quick story. I know we have a timeline here. Let me tell this quick story. I remember when my mom passed. I was in DC. When she passed, I went back home. My brother and my father were living at home. I felt like I needed to stay there to take care of them. I felt guilty. I felt like I needed to take care of them. And my aunt, wow, it still hits me today. My aunt said, she met me one day, because we're in the country, so we're on the road, not the street. We're on the road. And so I went to the mailbox one day, and my aunt was going to her mailbox. She lived across the street from me. And she looks at me one day, because I still had an assignment in DC with BET. And she says, why are you here? I said, what do you mean? She said, BJ, this is not your home. You have living to do in Washington, D.C. She said, go back. Your father and brother will take care of themselves. And it was in that moment I realized the guilt that I was placing on myself. I had to let it go. 2 weeks later, I'm back in D.C. because I felt like I needed to stay there. I also had a problem separating from the area where she was, meaning in my hometown, leaving. I felt like I was leaving my mother by leaving the proximity. That is another thing. Some people still go by and they visit graveyards. Still, they go by once a week and they do those things. And some of it is healthy, but some of it is unhealthy, because they still equate that their loved one is in that place where the shell lives. Yes. And so now they're putting guilt on themselves. I have to go by. And it's one thing to go do it and say, I want to go by, just check on the gravesite. I want to commemorate. I just want to go see how things are doing. But you have some people who feel they have an obligation. And that's how we trigger self-guilt in ourselves. So we have to begin to process those things and have real conversations about it, and begin to release ourselves of those penalties, release ourselves of those obligations and those responsibilities that attach us to the guilt of the loss.
Yes. We have another question from one of our viewers that says, how can someone overcome the emotions of wanting to be alone and withdrawal while dealing with grief?
That's a good question. How can someone overcome the emotions of wanting to be alone and withdrawn while dealing with grief? That's a good thing. And that's a common default. That's a common default for a lot of people to want to be alone. Some of us enjoy being alone anyway. I will say that it is not healthy to be alone all the time and for long periods of time when you're dealing with grief. So how do you overcome it? What it is you have to begin to connect with people that you trust, people that you feel comfortable with. And it doesn't mean that when you are around those people, you have to talk about what you're dealing with. It's just a matter of association. Again, we are humans. We are naturally drawn to association. We do not have the innate strength to be isolated. We draw from each other. There's a power in touch. There's a power in laughter. There's a power in being around each other. So you have to find people, I would say people that you trust. And if that is limited, then I would encourage you to do things like maybe go treat yourself. Go treat yourself to a snack, to a dinner. Find someone that you can go with, but do it in small stages. Again, you can't say I don't want you to hear this broadcast or hear our words tonight and then walk away and be like, okay, this is what he said do. And now all of a sudden you're just this extrovert showing up at all the social events. No. That's called a rebound effect, where you're literally going to the far end of the spectrum trying to fix what's over here. So you have to do things, and again, everything has to be intentional. You have to say to yourself, this is how I feel. I don't feel like going out, but I know that I need to associate with someone. So I'm going to call my aunt today, or I'm going to call my good girlfriend, or I'm going to go see my uncle, or I'm just going to go visit someone and just meet them for tea and just have a conversation. It doesn't even have to be about the thing that you're grieving. And you do it bit by bit by bit, so that you're not lying in the bed, lying on the couch. The house is dirty. You just don't feel like it. I'm not judging you. That's a real feeling and that's a real emotion. But you have to make an intentional effort to kind of get up and want to spring forth. It's much like a seedling that's in the ground. You have to want to grow. You have to want to spring forth just a little bit. And if you can just break beyond that shell or that ground and just reach up just a little bit, take it bit by bit by bit.
Oh, that's good. That's so good. And I know we're at our time now. Oh, yeah, we're over the time. But you tell us again where we can find the book. And want to make sure all our viewers on all the various platforms, we're going to also post it in the chat. So you who are tuning in, you want to definitely get this book. And there are a lot of nuggets, 40 days. And I believe anything that we do, they say after 30 days become a habit. So it can help us through the process of grieving. Whatever the loss is, you can get through it and you can get over it. And so sometimes we don't want to get over it. We just need to get through it. I do want to leave this one thing, because this is your book, so we can kind of, entice them to go on to Amazon and make that purchase. If you were sitting next to across from someone, any one of our viewers or anyone that is currently grieving, if you were sitting across from them, what will that word be that you will leave for them? What would you say to them that they can take with them, to be able to hold on to?
I think the first thing I would do is listen to them. I would want to hear their story. I would create a safe, trusting space that they can just speak their heart and their mind, because sometimes it's not about what we say. It's that we create a space where sometimes people just, again, need to offload their emotions. So the first thing I would do is I would listen, and then I would engage in the power of touch. I would hold a hand, give a hug, something to let them know that to remind them that they are alive. And then I would let them know that God is with them. He said he'd never leave them nor forsake them. But I also wouldn't judge them. I wouldn't try to fix everything that I hear, because sometimes people don't need solutions. They just need to talk. I just need to talk about it. If I can get it up and out and off of me, then it's a sometimes. So that's what I would do. I wouldn't try to fix it. I wouldn't. Now, if it's something specific, if it's a specific challenge that they're having, then yes. But I would first listen. I would touch. I would offer a light prayer if they want prayer. But I would also let them know that it's okay to be where you are, and to be where you are, but work toward building up in that process. I think that's the safest way to put it.
That's a free therapy session tonight. So all we have to do is go purchase the book. That's it. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Absolutely. So again, thank you so much, my dear friend. I do believe that grief creates a new normal after loss, a new normal for us, and we just really have to take it one day at a time. Well, let's see if we can lighten it up just a little bit with the would you rather? Would you rather? I don't even know where's the question. Where's the question? Let's go to the would you rather. All right. Would you rather have to speak in rhymes or riddles? Oh, would you rather have to speak in rhymes or riddles for the rest of your life?
Well, that's a no-brainer. Rhymes. I'm a poet. I'm a writer. I'm a songwriter. Oh, definitely rhymes. Oh my gosh. I mean, in my home, we have a song and a jingle for everything. Rhymes. Next question. That's a no-brainer.
Exactly. Riddles will have people question it. What are you saying? You want water?
I'm not good with that. I'm not good with that.
Exactly. All right. Would you rather fight a tiger or a bear? Who comes up with this stuff?
You know, I thought these were things that were going to get me in trouble. I feel a little better now. I think I would rather fight a bear. I would rather fight a bear. Wild bears can run and they can run fast. A tiger can run much, much faster, and a tiger is more agile. So what I would try to do is I would try to trick the bear. I would try to, as they say in basketball, break those ankles, try to trick the bear and outsmart the bear. Although he can reach, if he just gets that grab and comes after me, it's over. So I try to, stick and dodge and whatever, if I had to, but I hope I don't have to.
Okay, Bobby, weave a little bit. This has been excellent. I thank you, my good friend. I really value you. You know how much I love you. And I appreciate you being in my life and a part of my life, and then coming on to Love Speaks to give us something that is extremely helpful to us. And of course, Love Speaks is an informational podcast. However, this book is very inspiring, powerful, but it's also spiritual. It's also spiritual. So we want to encourage you to know that you're not in this by yourself, and with the help of God, He sees, and he's always close to the brokenhearted. He's always close to the brokenhearted. So, my dear friend, thank you so much. I greatly value, and like my wife said earlier, make sure you need this book, and not just this book, but it's what else is it? A devotional?
Yeah, 40 day.
Well, actually, it has an application. It's not a written devotional, but it does have an application, and it gives tools on how to move. So it is a devotional. It tells you how, like, each day there's something to do, and you can pick and choose. It has 4 different phases, so you can stick with one phase. You don't have to do day 1. You can do day 5 if that hits you first, and then come back and do day 1 and move around. You don't have to follow it in a succinct order. So it's not like a journal that you have to follow by the day. You can move around.
Absolutely. And he also has journals. I think he still have journals for sale, all those good things of that sort. And if you've seen his face before, he is an actor. So you've seen his face on a few things. And this is my friend, y'all, for real.
For real.
Exactly. So thank you so much, BJ. Please give Aisha our love. And we so value you and the great amount of information that you've provided to us. I believe that you have helped so many hearers on tonight, including myself, just to navigate where we are, how we feel, so that we can continue to live another day.
Absolutely.
Not just exist, but to live another day.
And you two keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great work. Keep doing what you're doing. Stay faithful.
Thank you
so much. We appreciate you, brother. Please get a family I love. Thank you so much.
Will do.
So you guys heard it. Thank you guys for tuning in for this episode of Love Speaks, where love speaks, where love is, whether it is spiritually, currently, or socially. And this topic here is a topic that touches everyone. So we encourage you, when you don't know what to do, you can go ahead, purchase this wonderful resource. It's not just a book, it's a resource to help you navigate through your feelings where you are so that you can recover back to a healthy life, a healthy life. Well, this is Francois along with Lakeisha.
Thank you.
And this has been Love Speaks. Thank you. So until next time, tune in
See
again.
you. Good night.